Out wide, Cassiano and John. Now Gout starts to stretch away, and stretch away he does, and he's done it. He's broken the 10 seconds again. Look for the win.
This 17-year-old kid from Australia just ran faster than Usain Bolt did at the same age, and he's not stopping.
Only Johnson and Browning have done it in any conditions. Gout's now done it twice. He's just turned 17. He's a young genius.
His name is Gout Gout. He's just a teenager from Ipswich, a quiet town in Queensland, Australia. And right now, he's the fastest young sprinter on planet Earth. When Gout was just 13 years old, something special happened. His school coach, a woman named Diane Shepherd, saw him run. She knew right away this kid was different. He won both the 100-meter and 200-meter races at a school competition. But what really caught her attention wasn't just his speed, it was his attitude. She said he was humble, really humble. In her own words, he had humility in bucket loads. Back then, in 2021, Gout was running the 200 meters in 22.68 seconds. That's fast for a 13-year-old, but nothing record-breaking. Then something amazing happened. Every single year, he got faster. And not just a little bit faster, a lot faster. By 2023, when he was 14, he broke the 21-second mark with a time of 20.87 seconds. People started paying attention, but nobody was ready for what came next.
Gout, and Josiah John out wide from WA. Josiah John, Gout, though now shows his class. Gout from Queensland, 20.87.
December 2024, just before his 17th birthday, the Australian All-Schools Championships in Brisbane. This is where everything changed. Gout lined up in lane 7 for the 200-meter final. There had been a false start earlier, but he stayed calm. When the gun went off, he exploded out of the blocks. He came around the curve like a rocket. By the time he hit the final straight, he was way ahead of everyone else. When he crossed the finish line, the clock showed 20.04 seconds. The crowd went crazy. Gout dropped to one knee and pointed to the sky. He couldn't believe what just happened. That time didn't just break the Australian record. It didn't just make him the fastest 16-year-old in history. It broke Usain Bolt's under-16 world record. Bolt had run 20.13 seconds when he was the same age. Gout beat it by almost a tenth of a second. After the race, Gout was in shock. He said it was pretty crazy and he couldn't process it right then. He told reporters something that shows just how young he really is. He said, "These are adults, and me, I'm just a kid, and I'm running them down." He admitted he'd been chasing that record, but he didn't think it would come this year. He thought maybe next year or the year after. But wait, there's more from that same competition. The day before his record-breaking 200 meters, Gout ran the 100 meters. In the heats, he ran 10.04 seconds with too much wind to count as official.
So we're away, a really good start there, and now starts to move through is Gout. So the Queenslander, he hasn't even touched the ground yet, the young man, and he's boomed away here in the heats, and he's gone. 10.05!
In the final, he ran 10.17 seconds legally. That broke the Australian under-18 record. In just 2 days, this teenager broke two of the biggest records in Australian sprinting history.
Gout, that is absolutely unbelievable. Ladies and gentlemen, that is history.
People started comparing him to Usain Bolt, and they had good reasons. Gout is 6 feet 2 inches tall, just like Bolt was at his age. His running style looks similar. Even his relaxed attitude and big smile remind people of the Jamaican legend. And here's the thing that made everyone's jaw drop. Bolt himself had watched Gout's videos and said the kid looks like young me. Jane Fleming, the president of Athletics Australia, didn't hold back. She said, "If I've ever seen anybody run like Bolt and built like him, he is it." The world took notice. Videos of Gout running went viral on social media. Fans started calling him the future of the 200 meters. His coach, Dee Shepherd, said the cork was out of the genie bottle now. Suddenly, this quiet kid from Ipswich couldn't walk around without people recognizing him. Even with all this attention, he stayed humble. He kept training, he kept listening to his coach, and he kept getting faster. March 2025. The Queensland State Championships. This is where Gout did something no Australian had ever done before. In the morning heats, he ran 20.05 seconds. That was the fastest legal time in the world for the year, just 1/100th of a second off his own Australian record. But he wasn't done yet. The final came a few hours later. Gout said he had a bad start and honestly didn't feel like running. But then he came off the turn, felt the wind behind him, and decided to just go for it. He said, "I felt literally free. I had 80 meters left to go, and I thought, let's send it." When he crossed the line, the clock showed 19.98 seconds, under 20 seconds, the first Australian ever to do it. Now, the wind was too strong for it to count as an official record, but that doesn't matter, he did it. Less than 140 athletes in history have ever run the 200 meters that fast under any conditions. And Gout is only the 7th person under 20 years old to break that barrier. The crowd behind him was huge. He said seeing all those people helped him run faster. Then he said something beautiful. He talked about how he used to watch Usain Bolt on the news and get goosebumps. Now he was giving other people goosebumps. He said he wanted to keep doing that. April 2025, Perth, Australia. The Australian Athletics Championships. This is where Gout made history again, twice in one day. The 100-meter heats came first. Gout crossed the line in 9.99 seconds, under 10 seconds for the first time in his life, but the wind was too strong, so it didn't count officially. A few hours later, the final. Same thing. 9.99 seconds exactly. Same wind problem. It didn't count officially. But Gout didn't care about that. He said sometimes it's frustrating, but you can't control what you can't control. You just have to learn to run with the wind or against it. He was happy because breaking 10 seconds in the 100 meters boosts his confidence for his main event, the 200 meters. That Sunday, Gout won the Australian 200-meter national title, not the under-20 championship, the full national championship, against adults. He ran 19.84 seconds with wind assistance. That's faster than Usain Bolt ran when he was under 20. That's faster than Justin Gatlin ran at the same age. Only Arian Knighton, an American sprinter, has run faster as a teenager. Before the race, 2 other runners false started. Gout said he felt nervous but kept his composure. He said this stuff happens and you can't control it. When the gun finally went off for real, he exploded from the blocks and left everyone behind. After the race, he said, "Feels really good. That's what I've been chasing. Top speed is my gift. I used it, took off, and I got sub 20, so I couldn't be happier." The crowd at the championship was 3 times bigger than the year before. About 80 journalists showed up, 3 times more than usual. Everyone wanted to see Gout run. He understood what it meant. He said, "This is what Athletics Australia needs. This is what we wake up in the morning for." September 2025, Tokyo, Japan. The World Athletics Championships. This was the big test. Gout's first major senior competition. He was still just 17 years old. He was also still in year 12 at school, trying to balance his studies with being the most talked-about sprinter in the world. When he lined up for his 200-meter heat, he was the youngest athlete in the entire competition. The crowd gave him one of the biggest cheers of the night. He finished 3rd in his heat with a time of 20.23 seconds and qualified for the semifinals. After the race, he said it was a memorable experience. He said competing at the junior level and competing here felt completely different. The field was insane. He knew he had to step up and prove himself. The semifinal came the next day. Gout ran 20.36 seconds and finished 4th in his race. That wasn't fast enough to make the final. To qualify, he would have needed to run 19.97 seconds. The winner of his semifinal, Brian Level from Jamaica, ran much faster. And in another semifinal, Noah Lyles ran 19.51 seconds, the fastest time in the world this year. Gout didn't make the final, but he wasn't sad about it. And he has time, so much time. He's only 17. The 2032 Olympics will be in Brisbane, Australia, his home country. He'll be 24 years old then, right in his prime.
Gout winding up and winding up. It's Lavelle to Bogo. Gout gets through to 4th. It's 1978.
17-year-old Gout Gout was supposed to be the next big thing in sprinting, but his world championship debut just ended with some harsh criticism that's got everyone talking. On Thursday night in Tokyo, the atmosphere at Japan National Stadium was electric as the men's 200-meter semifinals got underway. Light rain was falling, making the track slippery, but that didn't stop the world's fastest men from putting on a show, and right in the middle of it all was Australia's teenage sensation, Gout Gout, carrying the hopes of an entire nation on his young shoulders. The kid had already made history just by being there. At 17 years old, he became the youngest man ever selected for an Australian World Championships team. That's not just impressive, it's unprecedented. But making the team and competing with the big boys are 2 very different things, as Gout was about to discover. When the gun fired for the second semifinal, Gout found himself in a loaded heat. Brian Level from Jamaica was there, along with Olympic champion Letsila Tebogo from Botswana. These weren't just fast guys. These were the absolute best in the world. Men who had been doing this at the highest level for years. Coming around the bend, Gout was sitting in 7th place. Not exactly where you want to be in a semifinal, but then something beautiful happened. The same finishing speed that first caught the world's attention kicked in. He powered down the home straight, his long strides eating up the track as he moved past runner after runner. When the dust settled, Gout had finished 4th with a time of 20.36 seconds. In any other context, that would be cause for celebration. But in a World Championship semifinal, it meant one thing. He was going home. To make the final, he needed to run 19.97 seconds or faster. His time left him as the 18th fastest overall and 12th among the non-automatic qualifiers. The math was simple and unforgiving. Only 8 men advanced to the final, and Gout wasn't one of them. But here's where things get interesting, and not in a good way for the young Australian. While Gout was dealing with the disappointment of missing the final, the internet was having a field day. An American sprinter posted a TikTok video that cut straight to the bone, saying, "The next Usain Bolt got brutally destroyed at the World Championships." That's the kind of comment that can stick with a young athlete, especially one who's been carrying the weight of those Usain Bolt comparisons for months now. The hype machine had been in overdrive, calling Gout the next great sprinter, the heir to Bolt's throne. But championships have a way of separating reality from hype. The numbers tell the story. Gout's personal best is 20.02 seconds, which he ran earlier this year in the Czech Republic to set a new Australian record. In Tokyo, he was aiming to break that barrier and become the first Australian to legally run under 20 seconds. He'd actually done it before, running 19.84 at the Australian Championships in April, but that time came with illegal wind assistance, so it doesn't count in the record books. Meanwhile, the men who did make the final were operating on a completely different level. Noah Lyles, the defending champion, absolutely scorched the track in the 3rd semifinal. His time of 19.51 seconds wasn't just fast, it was the fastest time run by anyone in the world this year. After crossing the line, Lyles was pumped up and ready to send a message. He told reporters, "I surprised myself. I kind of backed up a little bit as we got to the last 20 meters, but I'm going to put on a whole race in the final. When I got up after the first 50 meters, I thought I heard Jarnell Hughes running along, and I said to myself, 'You ain't catching me.' The message today was that they can't beat me." That's the confidence of a champion, the mindset of someone who's been there and done that. It's also exactly what Gout is up against. Not just fast times, but experienced competitors who know how to handle the pressure and deliver when it matters most. But here's what's really remarkable about this whole situation. Instead of being crushed by the disappointment or defensive about the criticism, Gout handled it with a maturity that's rare for someone his age. Right after his race, he walked around to every single competitor in his heat and shook their hands. Class act. When the cameras found him for interviews, his attitude was nothing short of inspiring. "Semi-finalists and got to compete against the big guys. Couldn't be prouder of myself for sure," he said with a smile that seemed completely genuine. "Obviously, I was aiming for that sub-20, but today wasn't the day. God didn't allow it today, but I know for sure in the future it's going to be coming." The kid gets it. He understands something that a lot of critics seem to miss. He's 17 years old. He won't even turn 18 until December 29th. While other teenagers are worried about prom and college applications, he's racing against the fastest men on the planet and holding his own. Speaking of perspective, let's talk about Usain Bolt for a minute. You know, the guy everyone keeps comparing Gout to? When Bolt made his World Championship debut in Helsinki in 2005, he ran 20.68 seconds in the semifinals and finished 4th. That's significantly slower than Gout's 20.36. Bolt was also nearly 19 years old at the time, making him almost 2 years older than Gout is now. At the 2004 Olympics, Bolt's first major championship, he didn't even make it to the semifinals, yet somehow people expected Gout to waltz into Tokyo and immediately start breaking records. The expectations were completely unrealistic from the start. Even Noah Lyles, who just ran the fastest time in the world this year, sees something special in the young Australian. After his own semifinal, Lyles took time to praise Gout, saying,
What do you make of him as a 17-year-old?
I mean, more talented than I was. I mean, there's been nothing but great talent coming up. He's an amazing kid. You got a great head on him. You got a great team around him.
But Lyles also dropped some truth about what Gout is facing as he transitions from high school phenom to professional athlete.
It's going to be interesting to see how he develops. The thing that I always look for when I'm looking at younger talent is, hey, are you just going to be able to train into shape, one? Because when you're in high school, you're able to just get like races all the time whenever you want. But as a pro, you got to race,
That's the real challenge facing Gout now. In high school, he could show up to meets and run fast times almost at will. The competition was limited, the pressure was manageable, and races were frequent. But at the professional level, especially at world championships, every detail matters. Every tenth of a second counts. There's no room for learning on the job. The physical demands are different too. Lyles mentioned seeing how Gout develops in the weight room over time, naturally, not all at once. Right now, Gout has the build of a teenager, tall and lean, but not yet filled out with the muscle mass that comes with years of professional training. That development takes time, and it can't be rushed without risking injury. What makes this situation even more challenging for Gout is that he's not the only young Australian who struggled in Tokyo. Tori Lewis, just 20 years old herself, also finished fourth in her 200-meter semifinal. Like Gout, she was one of the youngest in her field. And like him, she fell just short of making the final. The pattern is clear. Youth and talent alone aren't enough at this level. Experience matters. Knowing how to handle the pressure, how to peak at exactly the right moment, how to execute under the brightest lights. These are skills that take years to develop. But Gout seems to understand this better than most. When asked about his biggest takeaway from Tokyo, he said,
"Continue forward the path."
What's been the biggest eye-opener for you?
I think the biggest eye-opener is knowing that I can compete at the young age I am against the against the best men in the world. So that's been definitely the biggest eye-opener for me, and just knowing that I can actually go out there, run my heart out, and still place against them.
Then he said something that shows just how mature his thinking really is.
Them is I got time. They may not have 15 years, but I got 15 years for sure. So I know that I can keep running, and I know that if I can do this at 17, I can do this at 25 as well, and I'll be even better at 25. So
15 years. That's longer than some professional careers. While critics are writing him off after one semifinal, Gout is thinking about the long game. He's thinking about multiple Olympics, multiple world championships, and the kind of sustained excellence that actually defines legendary careers.
All side by side with 60 meters to go. They're still side by side with 50. Lyles trying to find something. He stretches away. It is.
Noah Lyles just did something that seemed impossible for over a decade. He matched Usain Bolt's legendary record of 4 straight World Championship 200-meter gold medals and then immediately promised to destroy it.
Of course.
Number 4, baby!
On Friday night in Tokyo, Lyles crossed the finish line in 19.52 seconds, holding up 4 fingers to a roaring crowd of nearly 59,000 people. The same stadium where he struggled just 4 years ago during the COVID Olympics had now become the place where he made history. But Lyles wasn't satisfied with just matching the great Jamaican's record. "I can't wait for 2027 to become the only man to win 5 200-meter titles," Lyles declared right after his victory. Those words sent shockwaves through the athletics world. The man who many consider the current king of sprinting had just declared war on Bolt's legacy. Let's break down exactly what happened in this incredible race and why it matters so much for the future of sprinting. The race itself was a masterclass in tactical running from Lyles. Running from lane 6, he faced a stacked field that included 5 of the 8 finalists from last year's Olympics. His biggest threat came from his own teammate Kenny Bednarek in lane 8, a man who has finished second to Lyles more times than he probably cares to remember. From the start, it looked like it might be Bednarek's night. The American was leading at 50 meters, 40 meters, 30 meters, 20 meters, and even at 10 meters to go. Young Jamaican Brian Lavelle had actually taken the early lead off the curve, splitting the first 100 meters in 10.03 seconds. But anyone who's watched Lyles race knows that's exactly when he becomes most dangerous. "I studied my competitors," Lyles said after the race. "I knew their momentum was going to slow up once we got closer to 150 meters, but mine was going to build up after I hit that mark. Being patient was the most important thing. I controlled the race. That patience paid off in spectacular fashion. In the final 20 meters, Lyles unleashed his signature closing speed, sweeping past Bednarek to claim gold by 0.06 of a second.